Hello folks, and welcome to the 2015 college football season with Mr. Peacock's square plays of week number 1. Football against the number, folks, is finally back. I gotta tell you, it's been a terrific summer, but this is always one of my favorite times of the year to bid summer adieu and to welcome in the college football season. So, with that in mind, I wanted to tell you about one or two changes you're going to notice on the program this year. One, we are definitely going to be more concise. I say that every year, but we're not going to be pumping out 10, 12-minute videos every Thursday or Friday because I don't have the time to do that anymore. The second thing is, well, we'll see that toward the end of the video today. So, with that in mind, folks, we're going to go ahead and dive right now into the 2015 college football season, and we're going to start by leaving our plush Midtown Atlanta studio, and we're going to head up Interstate 85 to Charlotte, North Carolina, where at 6 p.m. I think that's the time. I'm not going to be able to watch it, unfortunately, but at 6 p.m. I like the South Carolina Gamecocks and the North Carolina Tar Heels playing a football game under 63.5 points. Folks, I sat right here in this very same studio on that opening Thursday of the 2013 season and told you to take the under in South Carolina. North Carolina, the game didn't really play out like I thought it would, but we still cashed that under ticket, and that's what's important. It's deja vu all over again. The reason I like the under in this one, though, neither one of these teams were defensive juggernauts by any stretch of the imagination last year, but they both made some very definitive changes, I think, to address some of their defensive shortcomings. South Carolina hired John Hoke, and he's going to be their defensive play caller now, and North Carolina obviously hired Gene Chizik, who's going to take over their defense. I think it's been a focal point for both of these programs in the offseason. And, you know, if you go back and look at what South Carolina did last year, I mean, they were not a good tackling football team, especially coming right out of the gate. And I think you're going to get a much crisper effort from the South Carolina Gamecocks tonight. I would also add that South Carolina, with going with Connor Mitch, probably going to be a little bit limited offensively compared to what we've seen the last couple of years. And listen, South Carolina will play low-scoring games coming out of the gate under Steve Spurrier. They've done that several times. Really like the under in this game. I don't think either team is going to get into the 30s. I would be stunned if both teams get into the 30s, so I think it's going to be a pretty easy under of 63.5. Game number 2. Folks, we're going to the west end of Nashville, Tennessee. I'll be up there next week, where I think it's at 9 o'clock. I like the Vanderbilt Commodores catching 2.5 points against Western Kentucky. But Mr. Peacock, did you not see Glory of Vanderbilt University last year? Well, yeah, I did. But I saw them all year. And I think it's worth noting that they actually righted the ship somewhat and played some pretty good, I don't want to say pretty good, they played some better football down the stretch. And I keep going back to that Tennessee game where they had Derek Mason as their defensive play caller, which they're going to have now. They actually played pretty good D in that game. And I think they will be better defensively this year too, coming out of the gate. Western Kentucky obviously has a lot of starters and a lot of firepower coming back. They scored a lot of points last year. Folks, Vanderbilt returns 9 starters on both sides of the football. They are an experienced football team, okay? And regardless of what they were last year, I think that experience is going to benefit them a little bit this year. And Vanderbilt, too, with having a new offensive coordinator, I think they're going to be able to throw some wrinkles at Western that Western's not expecting. This is the kind of thing, it looks like a cupcake opener, and hell, it probably is. But I think if you're Vanderbilt, you had to spend all offseason looking at Western Kentucky, and I believe that's exactly what Derek Mason did. I think there's a lot of value in the doors tonight. I think this is going to be a relatively easy win for Glory of Vanderbilt University, and I love them catching 2.5 points. Game number 3. We are going to a state I have never been to before, one of the few. That's 20 maybe. Minnesota, the state of Minnesota. Put on your Fargo accent, you know, from the movie. Folks, tonight, I think this one kicks off at 9 o'clock also. I like the Minnesota Gilded Gophers catching 16.5 points at home against Texas Christian. But Mr. Peacock, did you not see Texas Christian University last year? Well, yeah, I did. But I think that, and this is exactly what UGA ran into in 2008, and it happens a lot. I think it happened to Texas A&M a couple years ago too, where you end the season playing as well as anybody else in the country. You just miss out on that national championship appearance or playoff berth in TCU's case, And everybody for 6 months is patting you on the back, 8 months is patting you on the back, telling you how good you are, how next year you're a shoe-in and all that kind of stuff. And I think it just robs teams of their hunger. Like I said, this is exactly what happened to UGA in 2008. I've seen it before. And I think that's what's going to happen to TCU this season. Minnesota's a well-coached football team. They really are. I'm really impressed with what Jerry Kill's doing up there. And it's worth noting, too, Texas Christian is not a great team coming out of the gate historically under Patterson. They're only 1-4 in their last 5 contests against the spread in their first game against a Power 5 opponent of the season. I know that Minnesota only has 5 offensive starters coming back, and I know that the absence of David Cobb is probably going to be felt with their offense a little bit, but I really think that Minnesota's going to be able to keep this thing close. It's worth noting as well, in the last 9 games that Minnesota has played as a double-digit underdog, they are a sterling 8-1 against the spread, and that includes 4 outright wins. I'm not looking for Minnesota to win this game tonight. It wouldn't stun me if they did. But I'm a big believer in Jerry Kill, and I think that this is a terrific spot for the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and I think TCU is going to be jolted into reality of a new college football season pretty quickly this evening. Game number 4, folks. We're going to Houston, Texas. I almost said Houston Texans. This is a stadium where they play, NRG Stadium. I've seen a game there. It's no big deal. Saturday night, I like the Texas A&M Aggies laying 3.5 points at home in Houston, which is not very far from College Station, but it is a neutral site technically. I like Texas A&M laying 3.5 points against Arizona State. These just aren't really the kind of games that Arizona State wins or covers in. And I really like the way that Texas A&M has come out of the gate the last couple of years. They have been a good football team in the month of September the last couple seasons. A&M's got, I think, 8 starters back on offense, including their starting quarterback Kyle Allen, who I really like a lot. And I really like A&M skill players. I love the John Chavis hire that A&M made too on defense, and I think you're going to see that Texas A&M defense make a huge step forward this year in 2015. A&M, I'll be honest with you, they've been my pick all summer long to win the SEC West. So I think they're going to do that, and I think they're going to get the ball rolling right on Saturday night. I think this is going to be not an easy win, but I think this will be a double-digit win for your Texas A&M Aggies playing in front of a very partisan crowd at NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. So take the Aggies, lay the 3.5. Turning now to our mailbag, folks, as you might imagine, this studio receives thousands of pieces of mail every day, and I thought this season it'd be, worthwhile to pick one piece of correspondence that was interesting or, warranted comment or whatever else, and read it on the air. So today's letter comes from Bill in French Lick, Indiana. Bill writes, Mr. Peacock, will you handicap any college basketball games this winter? Well, Bill, the short answer is no, I will not. The long answer is I don't really trust myself to handicap college basketball. I think my skill set in handicapping college football is probably a little bit questionable, and I have decidedly less confidence in college basketball. The other thing, though, that I will point out, I go back to 2006, July 2006. I took an ill-fated trip to Seattle, Washington. While in Seattle, I and the person that I was with went horseback riding at Mount Rainier. Really beautiful. As we were going up the side of this very large ridge, and I felt so bad for my lowly beast of burden, as this horse was literally soaking wet by the time we got up to the top of this thing. But as we were making our way up the side of the ridge, I asked the tour guide if they did these tours all year long. She responded in the negative, telling me that until about the end of May, and that really from the end of May until about mid-September is the only time when these trails are passable. The rest of the time they're just under snow. So high is the elevation there. And she said, besides that, she said, when we get to Labor Day, these horses are tired. They need to go home and rest for a little while. And she said, we just feel like we're not really going to get a whole lot more out of them at that point. That's exactly how Mr. Peacock feels, folks, at the end of the college football season. It's a grind. It's a long grind. And I'm tired. And I get tired of making these videos at the end of it. And every December I say, I'm not doing this stuff again. But come August, boy, I can't wait. And so that's the long answer for why I'm not doing college basketball or anything like that. So you'll get me for 14 weeks, I think, or 15, whatever it is. And then that'll be that. So I suggest you enjoy it while you can. Real quick to recap, folks, we're getting the ball rolling tonight. Heavy action on a Thursday night. We like the South Carolina Gamecocks and the North Carolina Tar Heels playing a football game under 63.5 points. We like the Vanderbilt Commodores catching 2.5 points At home in the west end of Nashville, Tennessee, we like the Minnesota Golden Gophers catching 16.5 points at home against the Horned Frogs of Texas Christian. And finally, on Saturday night in Houston, Texas, we like the Texas A&M Aggies laying 3.5 on the carpet against Arizona State University. So I wish you the best of luck. Boy, it's good to see you again. Not as great as it is for you to see me, I'm sure. But I can't wait to get this season underway, and I will see you again next week, Thursday or Friday, per usual.